I'm here with Michele Phillips, author of Happiness is a Habit and founder of Key Performance. Michele, can you tell me and tell us how your journey began, please?
It's such a big question, but I feel like the path found me. I will start with the age-old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And when I look back on my life, there was a certain time in my life where people started handing me books. A lot of them were, I think Many Lives, Many Masters, Reconnection, but I started getting these books and I started reading them, and one author led me to the next. And at the same time, I was on this corporate path where I was giving training seminars in corporations. So I was taking all this fabulous metaphysical, spiritual the things I was learning, and I was making a bridge between what they were saying and bringing it into corporate life in a way that people could digest it and, it wouldn't scare them away, kind of thing. And it resonated. And I think what was so fun about it was it resonated with me and it resonated with the audience. So I once read a definition of the word vocation. It said, when your deep gladness meets the world's deep need. And I felt like, that's where I am. Like, this is so joyful for me. And the people coming were like, we want more. So I was doing training at Verizon. I was literally an employee in the training departments doing sales training. And I knew it was bigger than me then. So I jumped ship. I set a plan, like I was going to leave Verizon and start my own company. And I did that August of 2000. So my gosh, that's 22 years ago.
So that's a long time ago, because some of these ideas are only just being seen now. I mean, I'm really interested. So you were at the forefront of this. Can you talk more about how that transition happened? Were corporate people saying to you, come and talk to us? I just want to dig more deeply into that whole vision, because again, some of this I didn't know until the last few years.
Yeah. And not all, it's interesting. These spiritual paths they just get deeper and more profound, right? So, I was a newbie back then, right? So I felt like that was my first spiritual awakening. In 1997, even, someone gave me, this is, it's so funny how things come. Someone gave me a Chicken Soup for the Soul book, right? So simple. Jack Canfield, all these little stories, and it resonated with me. So I got on his mailing list. And then he was doing a workshop in Santa Barbara in this July of 1997. He called it How to Teach Self-Esteem in the Classroom. And again, my heart fluttered. So it's following that flutter, right? Following that excitement. So I said, I have to go get certified with Jack. So got myself to Santa Barbara. Again, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I don't remember, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew I felt the need to be there. And then I took his teaching, which again, he created his workshops for teachers. He was in the teaching industry originally. And it was very digestible. It wasn't, airy-fairy or woo-woo or any of that stuff. It was very practical, but yet you felt that there was something bigger there. So I started teaching his program or his teachings. After 8 days with him, he certifies us and he says, take all this beautiful knowledge and share it. Be a prophet. He says, create your own class, call it whatever you want. Just don't call it what I call it. And I thought, what a blessing, right? He wasn't like, this is my material and don't share it. He was like, take it. So I created a class. And I think at the time, simultaneously, I was back in Fordham. I went back for my master's degree and I gave a presentation in class. And this woman in my master's degree program said, I want you to come speak to my executives. And I said, okay, and I'm young. I did a presentation called Leading with a Heart. And I remember running home to my husband going, we need to create workbooks. I just got a job. I didn't have any. So we went home and we created this full day workbook. And I gave the presentation in Watch Hill, Rhode Island at their corporate retreat. They had this beautiful mansion on the water up in Rhode Island. And it was all of their executives. And they all started hiring me. So they put me on a corporate jet back in the day. I mean, we're talking a long time ago. They put me on this corporate jet and they flew me to Seattle. They had some companies in Seattle. I don't know if I should name all these companies, but they had companies in Seattle where I did training for them in Seattle, and we flew around the state. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to do for a living. So, it's like the teacher, like I got inspired from something bigger than me. I knew it was bigger than me. And then the doors started opening.
It's so quick, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to say that, but then, so then I quit my job. I'm all excited and fired up, and it's 2000 and there's no social media. There's no internet. There's just, I remember being in my home office thinking, oh my gosh, I have all this great knowledge. I'm so good at this, but nobody knows I'm here. So I got this book by Dottie Walters called Speak and Grow Rich. And the book said, make a one-page flyer and buy a fax machine. And I literally just followed the steps in her book. And it said, call up organizations, because every organization is looking for lunchtime speakers and breakfast speakers. So I literally, this is how long ago it was, I opened the Yellow Pages. We had no internet. So I opened the Yellow Pages. The first, it's like American Cancer Society, A. Hi, I'm Michele Phillips. I've got this great presentation. And the woman says to me, do you have cancer? And I go, no. And she's like, well, we don't want you then. And like, she bought me. And I'm like, okay, next, and I just kept calling people. And then I started going to networking events. And, it took a good 4 years for the company to get some traction, right? But there was always those moments when I thought, oh, what am I doing with my life, God or universe? And do you want me on this path? The answer was hell yes. Keep stepping, keep going, keep moving. So I just kept the faith, really.
I think that's amazing. So so how has that transitioned to the way you work now? Is it very similar to then? How would your day look if you're going to corporate clients? Are you there for a few hours, half a day? How does it all work?
Yeah. So, it's evolved over the years as I've evolved, or as we all evolve. But the bulk of my work now is I still do full day training workshops. I do coaching, executive and private. But what's been fun in the last, 5 or 6 years is I do group work where we'll take a team, an executive team or a leadership team, and I'll do a series of live workshops. So I might be with the team for a full day on site. And then I go away and I coach the people on the team in between. And then I come back the next month. And so it's a series, and it's the repetition and the one-on-one conversations with people. Really what I'm teaching people to do is what I've learned to do is to connect with your resonant voice, right? To connect with your own wisdom and your own guidance. And when you do that, you make better decisions, right? You're not as apt to follow the crowd or do what you think you're supposed to do. You're able to act confidently within who you are. So yeah, I do keynotes. I wish I could say there was this one recipe, but the bulk of my work is just helping people, whether it's in a classroom style, whether it's on Zoom now these days, or it's live or one-on-one, to just teach them practical methods to connect with that voice and to trust that their emotions are intelligent and they are speaking to them and they are helping them, not hurting them.
So can you give me or give us some ideas of what some of the teachings would be that you've noticed seem to work again and again? Are there a few things that are just really useful to get somebody into the right mindset so they start that journey of trust?
Yeah. And to me, it's that emotion, the whole emotional journey. I was brought up in a time where we were told, not to feel, right? Like leave your emotions in the car and come to work and do your job and never let them see you sweat and kind of be all this tough. And I never felt good in that environment. And when I got into the classroom, I was able to emote, right? I was able to be love and to give love and to be joy, and people resonate. We don't want to be these hard shells. So it's like trust that the emotions, you can't leave your emotions in the car, right? my brain is jumping because I have so many good ideas. What's been fun in the last so many years is that positive psychology and emotional intelligence, the research now have scientific studies that match the metaphysical, what the metaphysicians were always saying, right? So it's like when you feel that emotion, stop and ask what it's telling you, right? I always say when you get that funny feeling in your stomach, most people ignore it and they pop a pill or they just dig deeper, or they work harder until it gets so big that they pop or they get sick. And I say, when you feel that little niggle in your stomach, like as soon as you feel it, stop. What was I just thinking? What just happened? And when you start to slow down, I always notice I just read an email that bothered me, or I made a commitment I didn't want to make, or I said something about someone I shouldn't have said, right? My body is, and it's catching your emotions early so you can guide them. And most people want the world to be perfect and then they'll be happy and then they'll feel good. And it's like, no, if you could feel good no matter where you are, that's the ticket. Because then you start to have what I call magic carpet days, right? There's days where I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm having this magic carpet ride. I just flew home from Paris. So great story. When my book came out 9 years ago, or yeah, it's 9 years in December, this woman got my book and she posted on Facebook, I'm reading your book. And so I friended her. We never met. Life goes on. I see her post. She sees my posts. And I'm about to get on a plane in Paris on Saturday morning. And I get a Facebook message. What flight are you on? Because she sees I'm in Paris on my Facebook. And I said, I'm on this. She says, I'm the lead purser on the Delta flight you're taking home. So I said, oh my gosh. So now like I get to my seat at Delta and there's like this beautiful note and a little gift from her. And we were in the bulkhead area. So she sat in the jump seat and we just had this fabulous time on the plane talking. And it's like, here, this woman has been, read my book 9 years ago and I meet her on a plane in Paris.
Wow.
So it's just these little magical events. They're little events. They could be big, but it's seeing those little tiny serendipitous moments and knowing that you're attracting them with your emotions. I'm jumping all over the place, but you're emoting, right? Your energy.
I really like that, because I think that's when I do coaching Reiki with people myself. The one thing that we think about a lot is be grateful for the tiny moments. If you suddenly start to notice, there's a lovely butterfly, or you've had a great cup of tea, I'm English, or, somebody smiled at you at the bus stop, whatever. If you notice the tiny moments, that's where the happiness is, because it's a series of tiny moments, not these waves of Hollywood happiness. It's putting all the teeny happy moments together that lead to a more satisfying life. I mean, that's what I've noticed. What would you think?
No, I totally agree. And to your point, and that's what I try to teach people, is getting yourself in that good feeling zone every single morning, right? I try to teach people, if you do certain things every single day before you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, you're calibrating yourself to that energy, right? To that, connection.
Can you tell us what some examples would be to help people? Because I mean, probably most people get up in the morning and think, oh my God, it's another day. What am I going to do? Got to go to work, we've got to go to the school run, or whatever it is. And there's a sort of moaning thing that goes on, or a worry or an anxiety. What would you suggest?
And that's like the first thing, stop moaning, right? So it's wake up and say, thank you. Wake up, I sing there's this old Kellogg cereal commercial when I was a kid, and they used to say, it's gonna be a great day, so in the morning, like that's in my head. I'm singing that song, even if I have to talk myself into it, right? I wake up in the morning and I'm like, thank you. This is going to be a great day. Thank you for the sheets. Thank you for this beautiful man. Thank you for this house. The pillow, it could be the simplest, thank you that I'm warm. And then when I get out of bed, it's thank you for this cup of coffee. And I spend every morning, I always say, doing something that inspires, motivates, or educates me. So it could be just meditation. It's reading something that reading something that excites me, right? Not something that brings me down. I'm not reading the newspaper. I'm not watching the news. I'm reading something that connects me to a higher energy. I'm journaling. I mean, I have my journal here, and I love my journal because I'm like a little kid. I'm trying to show you if I can find a fun picture. I have all different colors. Of course, I can't find a picture that I want right now. I have all different colors in my journal, and I have a little pencil case with all my different markers. And because when I write in this journal in my different colors, it just connects me to love. It connects me to joy. And I just love sometimes to look back at my little pictures. I mean, this is just, I just like the colors, and I draw little hearts.
That's so nice.
But
What are you writing in there? Because that looks lovely. Are you just writing thoughts that come in, or ideas?
yeah, like I think this is this morning. It says, I train people's minds for a better feeling life. Right. So, quantum leaps. It's, I can focus on, I'm almost talking to myself in my journal. Right. So I'm writing what I want to be believing and what I want to be thinking. And I have to say, Abigail, when I first started journaling years ago, I used to write a lot of my fears and my negativities and because that's where I was in my life. So there's a usefulness in that. I'm not there right now. I'm in a really joyful space, but believe me, if I go through here, I'm sure there's, some days I just wake up cranky. So I write about why I woke up cranky. I'm mad, but I know it's temporary. That's what I've learned through this research is my feelings of angst or fear are specific and temporary. They're not permanent and universal.
Do me a favor, would you? I love that page. Can I have another look at it?
I don't know where it is. I lost it.
That one had a little.
Yeah.
You have to speak again for me to see it.
Oh, you can't see it when I'm not talking. Oh, that's so funny. It says, I train people's minds to feel better. And I just draw little pictures, and and sometimes if I'm listening to a book, I take notes on the book I'm listening to. I write this is what actions am I going to take today? I need to take action today if I want to have a successful day. So I just, kind of plan out my day. But this is journal number 51. Since I left my first husband. So I have like volumes at his house, and then I started from one when I got divorced. And I number them, and they're just, they bring me joy.
I really like that.
What brings you joy, right? Is it music? Is it exercise? Is it watching, carpool karaoke on YouTube? I don't know, but it's like finding something in the morning to give yourself that feeling of joy and love, regardless of what's happening in the world, because then that's the energy that comes from you when you leave, right? When you start your day.
And when you teach this guidance to your clients and they start incorporating it into their life, when they come back to you with feedback, what's some of the feedback that you get from them?
It's been such a fun journey. I just got a woman the other day. She's so again, another 10 years ago or something. She said, you came and spoke to our group and you changed my life. She said, you just helped me focus more on the positive, right? Like the things I'm saying are not, they're ancient wisdom, but they're not rocket science. But I think sometimes people need permission to feel love, to feel joy, because we live in a world that is constantly feeding you the opposite. You should be afraid. You should be fearful. You should be angry. You should be trying to control those people over there. And I come in and say, look for the butterflies. And people go, oh, thank God. Right. I don't have to, and I think that's it's the Gandhi quote, like become the change you want in the world. It's not meaning you're not going to help other people, but you help them more by coming from your love. You can't, when you're in alignment and you're connected to that, that higher power, then you can help other people. You can't help them when you're angry and afraid. So it's helping people just practice these, I call them habits, rituals, right? Habits are the things you do without thinking.
And then, so if you're working in the corporate world, I imagine you work quite a lot with men.
Yes.
What is it like helping them get in touch with love, really, and love in the workplace, which is, it's even just saying it seems like a weird concept, unless, you know, you're working in sort of counseling or something. It's just interesting. Can you talk about that? Because that intrigues me.
Yeah, it is. And I love to say the word love, and I love to say it in the corporations more and more often, because we should normalize it, right? I had a man, you know, and the thing with men is, I love my men. They feel all the same emotions we feel, but our society has pinned them to, like, they're only allowed to show these 5, right? So again, it's like giving them permission to, you know, and they might not like the word love, but giving them permission to be human, right? They could be brilliant. When I always tell my men, I want you to connect your head to your heart. I want you to connect your head to your heart. If you think of any great leader in this planet that you know, I mean, you think of the greats, you know, Gandhi and, you know, Martin Luther King or whoever, it's like their heads were connected to their heart and they knew where they were going, whether you were coming or not. So it's why are you, you know, why are you here? Are you're in a leadership position, and that requires that you deal with other people, right? It's not just about the title and the money and the whatever. It's, if you accept a position in leadership, you're accepting the responsibility to help other people, and how you treat them has a huge effect on everything in their lives. So it's, you know, I feel like I just, again, give them permission to be themselves. One of my CEO guys, he says to me, I just love getting on the phone with you, because he's like, I can't talk to my people when I'm upset. My wife doesn't want to hear it. Right. So, you know, you have a sounding board, you have someone who you don't have to puff yourself up. You don't have to put your ego on. You could just be real. And they get it, you know, whether they apply it all the time. Right. That's up to them. But I always take the stand that I come to share information with you. What you do with it is up to you. You know, I believe this stuff. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to share. And you have to look for the nuggets that resonate with you.
Absolutely. So you meet them first in a group, this is sometimes what you do. You have the whole day, then you're going to do the separate coaching with them. When you then meet up with them in a group a month later, how do they feel that month later? Do you sense a different feeling in the air? Are they being a bit kinder to each other or more open? What are you sensing and feeling?
Yeah, and it's one of those, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Some will. My other saying is, some will, some won't. So what, right? So some of them, I look for the believers, right? I look for the ones. There's certain ones that just get it, that love it, that make a difference, and I still connect with them to this day, right? I still hear from them. They share their successes with me. They share their promotions with me. They take me to their other companies when they leave. And some just aren't ready, right? But I don't hold that against anyone, right? I always think, I don't know, if I live life in their shoes, I might not be ready either, but I look for the ones that are ready. And I think that's what I've learned in corporations too. There's always believers in every area of a corporation, no matter how big and, you know, hairy the corporation is and how cutthroat they are. There's these believers that get this stuff. Right. And those are the ones I work with. Right. And then they bring me to their team.
I suddenly got a thought in my head as you were speaking. So would you say, because you're dealing with all different people all the time, and wherever they are in their life, you're dealing with them emotionally as well. So the thought came in that you're comfortable with being uncomfortable at times.
Me, yeah. I mean, I nobody likes to be uncomfortable, but that is one of my sayings. I want to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and I want to push myself a little further each time. And I think since I've been on this journey for so many years now, I'm just in a really solid place that if someone comes to me and says, Michele, I don't believe this, it sounds like a bunch of hokey pokey, I'm like, that's okay. I'm not here to force anything. And I say that from a really good place, that I don't get defensive anymore. In the beginning, I wanted everybody to get it, right? Just, why can't you just get it? And then that's exhausting.
I know, again, I was doing had loads and loads of clients in 2020, and I had that such purpose and intent, and everybody had to understand it, everybody had to heal, and blah blah blah. And after I think, what am I doing? you know, people have to come to it of their own volition. They have free will, and they're going to heal. You know, I might tell them something in a session, and they might work something out, but it may be a year later that it suddenly makes sense to them. And it's about giving people space to grow at their own pace. And it took me a while to learn that.
Yeah, it took me a long time too. I really, in the beginning, I feel like my first husband, I was like, oh my God, we're going to watch this video. We're going to, and he was like, whoa, like, we're not going to do this. I'm like, yeah, it's going to change our lives. You know, and now, you know, unless someone asks me my opinion, like you're asking me now, so I'm getting fired up and I'm talking, but in my regular everyday life, I don't go around prophesizing, is that the word?
Yeah.
Unless somebody asks me, you know, one of my best friends, she spins around in the same drama. And she said to me recently, oh my God, I wish I could afford to hire you. I'm like, you've had me for free all these years and you're not listening to anything I'm saying. So, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
I completely agree with that. Can you talk to me about your book and any special, what it was like writing it, what sort of feedback you've got, any parts of it that just, I mean, how did it evolve? As you wrote a page, did the next page come, or did you have a plan? You know, if you give me an idea around that.
Yeah. So the book, Happiness is a Habit. So I was giving seminars on the topics. I was talking about it, and people would say, do you have a book? Do you have a book? Do you have a book? And I was like, no, I don't. No, I don't. And it all started literally when I was like in my 20s and I wanted to be fit, right? What girl doesn't want to be fit and sexy and cute? So I was like, I need to learn how to eat right. I need to learn how to work out. So I started with my physical health. And then I got really fit and I felt really good. And then I worked on my spiritual health and then my mental health and my emotional health. And I realized that when I was going through my divorce, when the carpet gets pulled out from under you, the things that kept me strong were my habits. Like I had really good mental habits. I had really good emotional support, friendships. I had a really good playlist, like Stay Strong Girl. And, I just had all these things that kept me together, right? Even though I was brokenhearted. So again, how the book came about, another serendipitous moment. I'm thinking, I got to write a book. I've been talking about it for years. And this woman calls me up and says, can I take you to lunch? And she invites me to be on her board of directors for her organization. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be on your board of directors. I said, I've been thinking about writing this book. Oh, I'll help you write your book. And she became like my editor. And she had already been published. So she taught me. I didn't know what to do. So she laid it out. And once we got the idea for it, like once we figured out what it was going to be about, I want to say it was right before Thanksgiving. And I wrote it in 3 months. So like because I've been talking about it forever, it was already here. So I just threw up. I remember because it was right before Thanksgiving and then I was going skiing. I want to say end of February, March. And I said, here's your, 250 pages. And then she said to me, okay, back in the day, I went to Barnes and Noble and we looked at all the books on the shelf and wrote down all the publishers in my genre. And there was probably about 50 publishers and only 12 of them would take unsolicited book proposals. So I sent it to 12 and one said yes. And, it was born. So it just, once I sat down to do it, and the same thing now, I just finished my second book with Jen. Jen helped me with that, Jen Weigel. But she put me in touch with someone who kept me, I like the coaching, like having that accountability. Then it gets done.
And what are give me an idea of some of the chapters in your first book, some that this might be useful for people to hear. Are there areas that you say, right, let's focus on this today, or what are some habits that you promote in there?
Yeah. So the first book it's 44 habits, and I'm just going to look at some of them because I haven't read any. It's 44 habits. And I always say, these are my habits, right? So they don't have to be your habits, but you read the book and pick one habit, practice it for 90 days. And I don't know, I say 90 days. I don't know where I got that number, but some studies say 21 days. Some say 60. I'm like, you've been living this way a long time. Eat an apple for 90 days. If all you do is eat an apple for 90 days, it's become something you do without thinking, and it requires no energy. Then start to focus on something positive every morning for 90 days. Then, so if you just do one thing every 90 days, in 5 years, you have 20 positive habits working on autopilot. And that's so powerful, because we try to change it all at once and we fail. But if you're slow and steady, it just builds. And before you know it, some of my habits are get enough sleep, cultivate patience, move your body every day, right? I don't want to make it difficult. And that's the thing I always say. I want you to add things to your life. Don't take things away, right? If you want to add vegetables, great, but don't take away cookies, right? Because once you accumulate enough positive habits, eating a whole sleeve of cookies feels ridiculous to you, because you're doing so many other good things. Be grateful, celebrate your wins, take responsibility for your reactions, right? Become an optimist. So listen to audiobooks in the shower. I mean, these are silly habits, not silly, but they're my habits. Take responsibility for your energy, right? Like, you are a walking emotion, and you can, what do you want to emote to people? Drink water. I mean, there's use your words wisely, make time to play. So there's all these different, go outside, breathe fresh air, hug a tree, stuff, unplug. I'm just reading, connect to your spiritual side. So they're all in those categories of mental, physical, spiritual, emotional.
And then once you're in there, do you then, this is a big statement, connect to your spiritual side, you then give them ideas about how to do that?
Yeah. So at each chapter of my book, or each habit, so I just open to the gratitude. It talks about the habit. It gives you a little bit of my story about how I've created a habit. And then at the very end, it says, keep a grateful log, take a grateful walk, write a grateful letter, take some time at night before bed. So it gives you like bullets at the end of each habit, of actual things that you can do.
And what sort of feedback did you get around that? Did people start incorporating those habits that, your readers, like that lady who sat down on the plane? What did she say?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Some people go with it and they run with it, and they have great success. Other people, I found, what happens with humans is, you go for so many months, and then the one day you don't do it, you beat yourself up and you stop. So that's what I learned a lot. It's like, oh my gosh, if you're working out really well for 3 months or 4 months, 6 months, and you don't work out for a week, it's a week, just start. I notice a lot of people give up, right? Once they fall. And I think my biggest thing is to, help people be kinder to themselves. Don't take yourself so seriously, right? It's, you want to eat cake, if you want to, and especially me, like when I get off, I call my evil twin, or my inner critic, is Wanda. I've named her Wanda. And when she gets on a tear, man, she is nasty. And my husband's like, oh, Wanda's here, like she's crazy. And I just know Wanda's temporary. Like, it's like, okay, Michelle, Wanda is here. She's got a hold of your psyche right now, and she just doesn't want to let go. But I know she'll pass. Right. And I try not to beat myself up, because, I fall, I always I tease my husband can write the tell-all on me. I'm not always happy. I'm not always pleasant. I could be downright mean and wicked sometimes too, but that's just a piece of me. That's not who I am at my heart. Right. And that's who all of us are at our heart.
I like that, giving an identity to that other person that comes in, because we all have that sort of sabotaging, angry, whatever. It's nice to sort of name it, and then you can sort of disassociate from it. Just say, I like that idea that you can just say, this is temporary, because people do get so wrapped up in that voice. And then before they know it, they live and breathe that voice, and they can't remember how to be happy again.
Yeah. Yeah. You use the word disassociate, which is the whole thing. Because once I disassociate, and then it becomes we can kind of laugh at it a little bit. My husband, he always says, like, he's like, Wanda's here. Like, he knows, and I call him Billy when he gets in his, like, we both have our little names, right? For when this person comes out. And then it disassociates you, and it's not really who you are when you're at your best.
So when I look at you, you feel, I mean, this is a new word that's come to me from my mentors and things, about being fully embodied. And I thought, what does that mean? You know, being fully grounded, fully present. And you feel all of those things, you know, because your energy is here. You're not sort of throwing it all over the place. And you're very clear. Can you talk about, were you always grounded and focused like this, or was this something that evolved?
Oh, it definitely evolved. You know, I think back to my younger self, and I felt the calling, right? You feel that flutter in your heart, but I just didn't have the confidence, and I didn't have the grounding. And I think a lot of the things that make me grounded now were just embracing who I am and giving myself permission to embrace who I am. Like, I'm bright colors and happiness. I don't feel grown up. I don't, you know, my house is blue and pink, and, you know, I live in, you know, somebody's like, you know, I always tease my office looks like a, you know, a teenager's office. But once I really embrace me, and that's what I try to tell my coaching clients too, is I'm not here to change you. I'm here to help you be more of who you are, right? It's about amplifying your strengths and your, you know, it's not about trying to be something else, because that's where the true confidence comes from, the true trust. And in the beginning, my first flyer ever, I'll never forget, I made this flyer and had a butterfly on it. And I showed one of my girlfriends who I respect, who was in marketing. And she said to me, who are you marketing this to? Who's going to buy this? Right? It's very, you know, it's, you know, very fluffy or whatever. So I took her advice and I changed my colors and I made them corporate, and I tried to be this corporate image. And then I morphed into my book, which is, this is who I am, right? I'm happy colors and I'm fluffy, and that's what makes me happy. So I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but the more I was able to embrace who I am, it's like it gives permission to other people to embrace who they are.
I completely agree with that. So are there any particular people that you work with, any stories that you can share that just make your heart sing, any moments?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question, but let me see if I can think of one off the top of my head. Any moments that make my heart sing? There's so many little ones, right? So it's, you know, one time, this is the one that's coming to my head for whatever reason. We got snowed in. We were in skiing in Colorado, and I was supposed to have a coaching call. I was supposed to be home, and we got snowed in for a couple of days. So, and then we were flying home on the day I was supposed to meet with this gentleman. And I said, I have to cancel our call. I said, we're taking our flight out tomorrow. We're coming through Chicago. We're going to stop in Chicago. We have a layover. He goes, I'll meet you at the airport. And I said, okay. So I was in Colorado. We flew to Chicago. I went out of security, gave this guy a coaching session in the airport, went back through security, met my husband, and got on a plane. So it's like these people that just, like, we resonate with each other. And I think that's the fun part about this is, you know, you just meet kindred spirits, and, you know, I'm helping them, but they're also helping me. I've had people just get out of debt, get things, you know, books published, get out of bad relationships. So I can't, like, I don't know, I'm trying to put my finger on one giant success story. Oh.
No, that's perfect. But it never is one giant one, is it? It's always lots of moments that are really satisfying. I mean, the impression I get when you speak is that you're working in your purpose and you feel deeply satisfied and content.
Yeah. And if I look at my board behind me, is like all these thank you notes. These are all just notes I get from people. So they're just beautifully, and I'm going to grab one. Let's see if I can grab one. These are from my clients, right? This one. Dear Michele, the last 2 years of my life have been transformative, magical, full of growth, discoveries, skin knees, minor and major victories. Big part of those transformation experiences is you. You are a guide on so many levels, both light and fire. You are transformational. I wish you the loveliest winter holiday, and Happy New Year. May 2021 bring you more fun, magic, blessed energy. Can't even read our handwriting. Grow and blossom in your business, whatever. So these are like, I get these from my clients all the time, and I just hang them. And here's another good one I think I could read for you. Oh, I'm gonna lose my tax. This is a much overdue thank you. It's been over a month since our leadership meeting in Dallas. I need to tell you what an amazing experience that was for me. I took so much away from the meeting that I'm already incorporating into my life at work and at home. I'm so grateful to work for a company that values their employees enough to support a team building week like the one we had. I'm so thankful to be under the leadership of Kristen and Paul, and grateful they set up a week for our team. And I'm grateful that you were chosen to be the facilitator for our week. I took so many little gifts home with me. Everyone on the team has continued to talk about what a great experience it was for us all. I hope to spread your message to my team, my family, and friends. So these are these moments.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's just gives me chills. So these people are fabulous.
So I love this conversation, and it feels very clear and practical, and I'm very excited about your book, and we're going to put up parts of your book in the show so people can read it, and a link to your book on the website, because I think everyone should get it. So as a last question, and to end this lovely conversation, what would you love to see more of in the world?
I would love to see more people believe that there's an energy out there, right? I'd love to see more people believe in things they can't see, right? Because you can't see love, you can't feel that connection, but when you're connected to that power, you know it, right? And it's the difference between playing the piano and playing the piano, right? And it's, bringing more people to open their minds that it's an inside job. It's not external. Stop trying to change everybody else and everything else. And I'm exhausted listening to all those people doing that. Work on yourself.
Yeah, perfect answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abigail. It's been fabulous.